How are you doing, guys? And welcome back to TSTV for the match review of Chelsea 2, LAFC 0. Now, wasn't the most spectacular performance in the world, wasn't the most spectacular game in the world. It was a very sparse crowd in Atlanta for the game. I think there was only about 22,000 people in the stadium, and I think it holds about 80,000. So it was a bit of a weird watch in some ways, both in terms of the game itself and maybe the way we went about it, and also in terms of the atmosphere it was played in. I think there are reasons for that, and I know a lot of people have been going online and kind of using it as a bit of a stick to beat the Club World Cup with. But if you look at the context of the game, it's Monday, it's like middle of the day, 3 o'clock Atlanta time. People are at work. You're also in a country in America where football isn't the top 5 sport. You know, it's an emerging sport yet, but it's not a top 5 sport. We weren't in the LAFC's home city, so they didn't have as many home supporters there as they may have done if it was at their home ground. So I think all those contributing factors made it a bit inevitable that there wouldn't be a massive crowd. I think if you had the game in, say, a Germany or a France or an England or a Brazil or an Argentina, you would get much bigger audiences for those games. People would be keen to go. People book time off work to go to the games. But in America, football was just not big enough yet to be able to justify people taking the time out of their daily work lives to pay a lot of money to go and see maybe two teams that they don't support. Yeah, maybe that will change next summer with the World Cup, because obviously you have whole nations of fans there and people are naturally just more interested in the international World Cup itself. So I think there are a few reasons there. We've seen, fairly good crowds at some other games that have taken place more at local time. Obviously, the South American teams have often brought a lot of fans because of their close proximity, and there's a lot of naturally Brazilian and Argentinian fans that reside in America, so they're going to be able to make the journey to the different stadiums to go and watch them, and they're very, very fanatical, and they take the Club World Cup very, very seriously, even in its former iterations. So I think it was a bit inevitable it was going to be a smaller crowd, and I think when we play Flamengo on Friday evening, that will still be afternoon in America, but I think there'll be a much better atmosphere. Flamengo will have a lot of fans there, and maybe because it's a Friday, people will make more of an effort as a neutral to go to the game. So yeah, it's a stick to beat the Club World Cup with, but it is what it is. I saw actually earlier that the TV viewership figures in the UK were actually very, very good for it. I think there was 1.8 million watching Chelsea versus LAFC, and I think about just over 500,000 were watching Boca Juniors versus Benfica, which obviously kicked off at 11 o'clock. And that was a really great game, by the way. I really, really enjoyed watching that. So I think there is some sort of appetite there. I think it's just become the cool thing to criticise the tournament. Anyhow, so yeah, it was played in a bit of a weird atmosphere. It felt a little bit like a Conference League game where we're coming up against a limited opponent. They obviously have Olivier Giroud and Hugo Lloris. Giroud came on in the second half, but just isn't the same Giroud that was at Chelsea a few years ago, or even at AC Milan after that. And they had a couple of chances in the second half. We got a little bit sloppy and a little bit pedestrian at times. And Augusto, again, switched off on about 2 or 3 occasions. I'm not sure what's wrong with him. I don't know whether it's what Maresca's trying to make him do in the team, which I don't think helps him and his skill set. But he's definitely not been right for a good year. And that's a shame, because I think there's a talented player there. He's still only young, so he can still develop and that, but his concentration levels are quite poor. We've seen that quite a few times this season. But Robert Sanchez, like him or loathe him, made a couple of half-decent saves. And in the end, we got the second goal towards the end. First goal was a really, really nice goal as well. Nicholas Jackson did really, really well to spring the defender on the halfway line. Played the ball through to Pedro Neto, who was, I thought, by far and away the best player on the pitch. Played really, really well. Showed a lot of heart, desire, and a lot of quality, I thought, as well on the night. Great run, great Cruyff turn to take it back onto his left foot and put it inside the post. So that was 1-0. I thought maybe then, once we got the first goal, we'd kick on a bit. It didn't materialise like that. Now, I think part of that maybe is we haven't played together in a couple of weeks, so I don't think that helps. I think also maybe we're trying to kind of manage the competition in the sense that we're not going to go too hell for leather in games like this where we should be able to win with the minimum of fuss, and so that we compete later in the competition and we don't completely run out of energy. So I think maybe that explains why it was a bit of a slow pace and it was a bit methodical. And I know we play like that generally as well, but often when we've come up against lower caliber opposition in the Conference League, we have gone hell for leather at times, and I think that was partly why We saw that last night, and players just being a bit off it, I thought, as well. I mean, Noni Madueke on the left, he's actually been quite good on the left, I thought, since he came into that position around April time, but he was really, really poor, didn't look on it at all. And he'd actually looked quite bright for England in the previous 2 games, but it was a poor game from him. And second half obviously happens, Liam Delap comes on, and yeah, I was really, really excited to see him make his debut, and I thought he did well. There was a couple of loose touches, but he made a really, really nice run in behind, I think about 2 or 3 minutes after coming on. Used his strength and power to get past the defender and nearly cut it back to Enzo Fernandez. And then with 10 minutes to go, lovely dink cross for Enzo to get on the end of it and finish. Yeah, Enzo's almost becoming like the new Frank Lampard, isn't he? And I know I'm sort of saying it in jest because I don't think he's ever going to reach Frank's level of goal output, but his box crashing and his ability to get on the end of things has really, really come on leaps and bounds. And you know, that's something I'd love to see carry on into next season. So it wasn't the most thrilling game. There were definitely issues to iron out along the way, but as like a first game in the competition, managing minutes in the case of Lavia and Reece, in terms of managing energy and kind of workload and making sure that we don't kind of gas ourselves out. It was a professional job, and we got the 3 points in the group, and it's job done. Now, I will do a bit of a preview of the Flamengo game in a couple of days' time. That game's on Friday night. That will be a really, really interesting game, actually. Flamengo are a decent side. They also beat Esperance Tunis last night as well. That was a 2 o'clock in the morning kickoff, so I didn't watch that. But I think we'll probably be contesting it out for who finishes top of the group in that game, and I will do a bit more of a detailed preview on that in the next couple of days. But yeah, I think that will be quite a dangerous game, actually, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how we step up to that level, whether we play the same like we did against LAFC, whether we can step it up a bit, because Flamengo are a much better team. Yeah, overall, I've actually quite enjoyed the tournament so far. I know a lot of people have been kind of naysayers. A lot of people have criticised it in the lead up. A lot of people have criticised it during. And there's been 3 0-0 draws. I just watched Fluminense and Dortmund. That was quite a poor game, to be fair. But the other 2 0-0s in the tournament, Athletic and Inter Miami, which was the opening game, and Palmeiras Porto, were actually 2 good games. You know, they could have easily on another day ended 2-2, 3-3. All 4 keepers in those games had really, really great performances. So I think from that point of view, it's kind of, that's not done the tournament a lot of harm. People just see the result and assume it was a bad game, but they weren't. But we've had a couple of cracking games, I think, in Boca Juniors 2 and Benfica 2, and even the Botafogo Seattle Sounders game, which I watched a fair bit of, I thought was a good game as well. So I think the tournament started off with a lot of promise from my point of view. I know a lot of people won't see it that way, but this is just my opinion. And as, again, we get further into the competition, I think the level will get even better. You know, once you start getting into really high-stake games, like the third group game, some of the games might not have anything on it, but some of them will. And then you get into the knockouts, and then I think you'll start to really see the excitement build. It looks like we could get quite a few South American teams into the knockout stage as well, which I think is fantastic for the tournament. To be honest, I was really hoping Boca Juniors saw it out last night against Benfica, because if we finish top, we will play likely either Benfica or Boca Juniors, and Boca Juniors against Chelsea would just be a fixture we never see. Would be really exciting. Benfica got it back to 2-2, 10 men, so credit to them. So I think both will probably lose against Bayern, so it may come down to who scores the most past Auckland City. So that will be an interesting one as well. But overall, I've enjoyed the tournament so far. It's not the same as an international World Cup. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it is, but I've watched as many games as I can. It's really interesting to see different teams, different sets of supporters, different players, different cultures clashing against each other. And I think, as I've said previously in another video, I think people should be more open-minded to it. I think we take a very Eurocentric view to things, or a very Premier League-centric view, if you want to narrow it down even further. We kind of think it's all about us and how, you know, player fatigue obviously is a thing. I'm not saying it isn't, but it's not good for us. We don't really care about it. Well, look at the teams in South America. You know, look at the teams in Asia. You know, I've watched Al Ahly, their fans. I actually have the River Plate versus Ferrari Red Diamonds on at the moment, and their fans are really, really getting into it as well. So it means so much to those teams. So we shouldn't be sitting here and patronising people and sort of putting it down. I think in the years to come, as I said, I think it will be a really huge tournament. I'm excited to see how the rest of it pans out. And for me, look, there's no guarantee Chelsea win the Champions League in the next few years. So this might be the only crack we get at it for, well, a long time, if ever. So let's go for it. Let's try and win it, and let's enjoy it. So yeah, you know, routine win, professional job. I'm going to try and watch a couple more games tonight. As I said, I've got the River Plate game on now, and I think later it's Mamelodi versus, I can't remember who they're playing, but forgive me. But I'm interested to watch that game as well. Two teams that I've never seen before, and I probably won't watch after the tournament finishes. So yeah, look, interesting tournament so far for me. I've enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the Flamengo game on Friday. I think it'll be a great game. I'll preview it in a couple of days' time. If there's any big transfer news as well, I'll also discuss that. Nothing's really happening at the moment. I don't expect us to be too busy until we go out at the Club World Cup, if I'm being very, very honest. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But if there is any news, I will break it on here as well. Look, take care of yourself, guys. Hopefully, if you are watching the games, you enjoy them. Hopefully, you're enjoying the lovely weather in the UK at the moment. It is a bit hot for me because it gets very humid over here, but you know, it's better than it raining and being minus 10 degrees, isn't it? So yeah, take care of yourself, guys. See you in a couple of days, and yeah, up the Chelsea.